Hi everybody, welcome to episode 5 of Pins and Needles. My name is Zoe and you can find me on Ravelry as BFG and on Instagram as Pins and Needles UK. Today is Saturday the 2nd of July. You'll have to excuse me if I sound a bit peculiar. I've got the tail ends of tonsillitis and a nasty cold, so hopefully I won't have to sneeze or blow my nose or anything like that, but yeah, cut me a little slack for the slightly snotty tones you'll be hearing today. Well, it's been 2 weeks. I wanted to start with a couple of thank yous today. First of all, I wanted to say hello and thank you to Christina. She was a fairly newcomer to watching my blog, and ever so kindly sent me a pattern. She sent me the Duchess of Devonshire shawl by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears podcast. It's something I've had in my queue for months, if not years, a beautiful crescent-shaped shawl. And yeah, Christina particularly liked my chat about not waiting to make things for yourself until you had the perfect body that you were dreaming of, that you were good enough as you were now to make yourself nice things. So thank you very much for that, Christina. I have exactly the yarn I need in stash for that, so I hope to be casting that on fairly soon. I also wanted to blow kisses to Kathy and to Rose as well. These are two wonderful ladies I know on Ravelry. Kathy is the incredibly talented bootie designer. Shake Your Booties. If you have babies that need gifts, go and check out Shake Your Booties patterns on Ravelry. The most gorgeous, cute daffodil patterns and Gansey booties and all sorts. And then Rose, who is Raised by Wolves. She is, as well as being a fantastic knitter, a website designer. And Kathy and Rose were both kind enough to help me out with trying to get a nice photo up on my YouTube channel. I took a photo of my backdrop, my nice mantelpiece that you can see here, and I uploaded it, and it looked ever so funny, and it had all zoomed in on the wrong bits and you couldn't see the stuff, and despite my best efforts and the help of my eldest son Conrad, I couldn't make it work. So they were both kind enough to do a bit of computer shenanigans, and you can see the result of their work on my YouTube channel banner. So thank you very much to that, ladies. I bought them both a pattern as thanks, so hopefully they will cast those things on and think of me. Quick tea. This is just Yorkshire tea, my absolute favourite. I make it strong enough to let the spoon stand up in it, and it's what keeps me going. The other thing I wanted to say is thank you to all of my subscribers. Welcome if you're a first-time viewer, and welcome back if you've been here before. I am up to 97 subscribers. I can't believe it. My goal is to get to 100, and as soon as I get to 100 subscribers, I'm going to do a little giveaway. So if you like my podcast, give me a thumbs up. And click subscribe, which is a little button on the right hand side of your screen, and then you'll get notifications when a new video comes up. As I said, once I hit 100 subscribers, I will do a giveaway, and I'll mention it on the next podcast, and all you'll have to do is just leave me a comment in the drop down section of the next podcast video. And then I'll jump on randomnumbergenerator.org to choose a lucky winner. I have managed to find the prizes I was going to give away, so I'll show you those. First of all, I have 5 sheepy buttons. Look at those, aren't they cute? They've got tiny little black feet and curls in the clay. Let me see if I can get it closer. There we are, look. So there's 5 of those, and these are by a company called Injabulo. If you go to any yarn festivals in the UK, you may well have heard of these. Their website is www.injabulo.com. So 5 sheepy buttons. Crafters can never have too many notebooks, so I found this rather cute one the other day in a shop near me. says I'm silly ice creams on the front, and it's just nice lines inside, and it's quite a small size, so handy for your knitting bag or your handbag. And the other thing I was going to do, dun dun dun, I was going to raid my mason jar. Now this sits on the windowsill in the back room where I have all my crafting stuff and my sewing table. And if I make socks from nice yarn, and I've got just a little bit left over, I put it in my jar because it looks pretty. And I'm trying to see what you'd recognise. There's the yarn from my zigzagular socks, the Shepherd's Sock Multi. And if I show you on the top, there's the Araucanio Ranku Multi I used for my 3-colour cashmere shawl. I've got, this lovely one here. This is Cranberry. It's a sock yarn from Owl About Yarn. I made my mum some lovely socks in there. I've got some Norro, multicoloured Norro in there. I don't know if you can see it, this tiny flash of turquoise, that's some Sweet Georgia that a friend of mine sent to me. I knit my Star Shower cowl in that. So I will dive into my jar of minis, and I will wind up maybe half a dozen 5 or 10 gram minis and put those in a parcel. So there will be minis, and there will be sheepy buttons, and there will be a cool notebook. So if I hit 100 subscribers, you can enter yourself for this prize draw. So yeah, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and maybe you can win a prize. Right. Oh, I should also mention, I will put all the details of projects and yarn, everything I talk about in the drop-down box. So if you miss any details, you can check in there. I will also include some timings of my various different segments. So if you want to skip my chat session at the beginning, just check the drop-down box and you can jump straight to the bits you're keen on listening to. I will also try and put the timestamp up here, just there. So if you want to skip the introduction, you can get straight to the crafting business. So yes, 2 weeks since my last podcast, and it's been an interesting 2 weeks. I don't want to go on about it too much, but the UK did vote in a referendum on the 23rd of June on whether or not to stay in the European Union. And somewhat surprisingly, the UK voted to leave the EU. I voted to remain, as did my husband. And it's been just over a week now since that result came out, and the domino effect has been quite surprising. Massive fluctuations in the currency market, some outrageous behaviour from some members of the public, outbreaks of racism and hatred, some really vitriolic, nasty comments on social media between people that have been friends. The Labour and Conservative parties are in free fall at the moment because the Prime Minister has resigned and the Labour MPs are trying to force their leader to resign. So it's been a time of great uncertainty and high feelings, and Dave and I are self-employed, and so we're feeling quite discombobulated, I think. We're not too sure what's going to happen. I'm sure it will all be okay in the end, but it's been a strange week, I'm not going to lie. Feelings have been running very high. Also, obviously, I've been sick as a parrot, so I felt pretty disgusting. I get tonsillitis quite a lot. So I've been working and feeling horrible and snotty, and my throat's been sore, so it's been a bit of a tricky week. I worked all of last weekend, and my mother-in-law came down and kindly looked after the children for me. We had a big event at work. We hosted one of the powerlifting federations, we hosted their European competition. So that was good fun, but it was a very long day, and I got a medal. I was in charge of tea and coffee and keeping the toilets clean, and I did it so well, I got a medal. I was actually really pleased with it. I should have brought it down to show you, but being a grown-up sucks a lot of the time, and we don't get stickers and rewards and certificates and cups. So I think getting a big shiny gold medal, and it was like this, it was this big. I was chuffed as nuts with that, so I think grown-ups should get more medals for doing everyday stuff. We have another powerlifting competition this weekend, so once I finish podcasting, I need to bake a lot of cake to sell at the competition. In other news, Wales got through to the semi-finals of the European Football Championships. Yay, go Wales! Quite unexpected. We beat Belgium last night, who are number 2 in the world. And whilst I'm not a huge football fan, I do love Wales. So hooray for us. That was a really cheerful thought, actually, in a bit of a crappy week. So that was some nice news. Right, that's enough general chatter. Let's jump into my first section, pins, my sewing section. I don't know if you noticed, but who's got 2 thumbs and is wearing a new top? Let me find the pattern envelope to show you, look. This is New Look K6483, and I made this one, which is view C. I showed this to you the last time. It said 1 hour easy sewing time, and I thought, right, I'll try that. 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours, so they lied. This fabric started off as a skirt, and the facing started off as a pillowcase. So this is my upcycle challenge. I will carefully stand up without dislodging anything. So you can see quite nice high neck, cutaway shoulders, and there are some bust darts that you can't quite see. And if I stand up, there we are. And I will show you the side and the back and the other side. And there we go. Well, this was fairly easy to sew. It's quite a simple pattern. You know, there's some facings. I hadn't done bust darts before, but that was quite easy. I found a Tilly and the Buttons tutorial, just, you know, a quick photo tutorial. So I watched that and I was well away. So I took my measurements, and then I looked on the back of the pattern packet to see what was the best size, and stitched the size it told me to make. And it came out huge, huge, absolutely enormous. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, I put a picture up of me trying to mark up some alterations. It's still not a perfect fit, but if I go like this, can you see how much the pattern really curves out here, and I've still got a lot of loose fabric. Now I do have quite a small bust, I'm not going to lie, fully paid up member of the Itty Bitty Titty Committee, but basically it's true, the big 4 pattern companies make their patterns enormous and they have so much ease. So I made it according to the pattern, and I tried it on, and it was just ridiculously, enormously large. So I turned it inside out, put it back on, and I just sort of stood in front of the mirror and I sort of just pinched down the side and had a look, and then took it off, marked out, I think I took, as I had the pattern flat, I took out a whole inch, which is on each side. So I think I took 4 inches in total out of the top section, and it's still enormous. And basically, because I'm now on speaking terms with my overlocker, I measured carefully from the upper arm here down to about 5 inches below the bust dart, drew a chalk line in, whizzed it through the overlocker, which bound it and cut all the excess off. And it fits much better. It's still a bit too voluminous here. I think that's just the pattern, it just comes out too much. So as long as I don't do that, it's not too bad. But it is a bit, you do get a bit too much fabric in it. So I adjusted the side seams. It was also, I haven't done the back seam, there's a centre back seam on this. And you're supposed to do a button and a little loop closure at the back. And I don't know if you can see, but I put a hook and eye in it, and it keeps popping open all the blooming time, and it drives me nuts. It just yeah, there you are, look, it sticks out like that. So I think it is too big down the back as well. So Because of the way the stitching is faced in, it's going to be a bit awkward to solve the problem at the top. I think I will just overlap the neck at the top and put a popper in, and then it will stay done up. And I could possibly take maybe half an inch in down the back seam from the bottom of the opening all the way down to the bottom hem. But to be honest, I'd got a bit fed up with fiddling with it by then. And it's perfectly wearable, you know, there's no big deal. So yeah, overall I'm pleased with it. This is a wearable toile for making a rayon version with my toucans on, so I'm very glad I made it. I've worn it out a couple of times and it didn't fall off. Nobody pointed and laughed at me. And I actually had some lovely comments on it. So not perfect, but not bad. I'm quite pleased with that. So yeah, hooray for me. But yeah, not an hour, 3.5 hours. That was a bit of a mammoth thing. The other pattern I said I was going to make a start on. I have a big gap in my wardrobe for things to wear on my bottom half. I'm 6'1", and a lot of my length, I do have long legs, but a lot of my length is in my body. So I find that garments are way too short from the crotch to my waist, which results in the most awful pulling and tightness, and it's just horrible. So I wanted to make myself some summer trousers, and I found Simplicity 1887, and I wanted to make these ones. So you can make these in cotton or rayon, and they've got a flat front band and then gathered elastic around the back and sort of cutaway pockets. And given my experience with this top, again, I was going to make myself a wearable toile. Now I had, as I said, I made the lining of this out of a pillowcase, and I had the duvet cover left over. So I was good, and I traced off the pattern pieces rather than cutting out the original pattern. I thought I'd going to have to make quite a few changes, and the tissue paper that most Big Four companies come with is so skinny, and I just didn't want to rip it. So I busted out the baking parchment and copied out all of the pattern pieces, which took quite a while. And then last night I made my toile, again out of this cotton. I did quite well making the pattern. I had no problems understanding what I was supposed to be doing or where pieces were supposed to go. Again, I did my body measurements, compared it to the finished garment measurements on the envelope, and I had, according to the size they wanted me to make, I had 5 inches of positive ease around my hips, which was nuts. So they wanted me to make a size 22 according to the packet. I looked at the finished hip measurements and picked the size 16. So 16, 18, 20, so that's 3 sizes smaller than it suggested. And this is the result. And I'm not terribly happy with it. So it's not quite finished. You leave a gap here at the yoke for threading the elastic through, so that's why that is still a bit open. Let me see if I can fold them in half, it might show a bit better. There we are. So we've got 2 pleats at the front here, and then here's the cutaway pocket. I didn't do the full length. They're sort of like, they just about come down to my knee. And as you can see, you have a flat front panel, between my fingers is flat, and then you have a channel in the middle, so you get 2 lengths of elastic running through here, and then there's the back. It's quite plain. It's supposed to be gently gathered, excuse me, in a slightly drapey fabric, so this isn't the best fabric choice. I finished sewing these at 11:15 last night. Last night was a bit of an emotional day with my children, so I needed to do a bit of something crafty before I went to bed. So I sewed these up, tried them on at 11:15, and according to the size I made, it will give me 1.5 to 2 inches of positive ease around my hips, and around my hips and my legs, they felt about right. And around my waist, it felt far too loose. But when when I pull these on and off, it's a struggle to get the waistband over my hips. I am quite pear-shaped, so my waist is quite small compared to my hips. So they were too loose around my waist, but as I was pulling them on, you really had to, like this, wriggle to get them on. So I'm not too sure what to do about that. Do I increase the size of the waistband? And given that it's elastic waisted, just heave the elastic in to make it fit? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. If anyone has any suggestions for me, I would love to hear them, because I know they're drapey, but I don't want tons more fabric around my bottom half, but I do want them to fit nicely. I didn't make any alterations to the pattern. Maybe if I added a bit of length up here, maybe that would sit a bit better. Maybe they're just not in the right place. I'm not sure. But anyway, I practiced the pattern and that went very smoothly, and they are wearable, so it's not a complete loss. But again, I think I need to have another go. I only used a third of my duvet cover, so I have plenty more fabric to have another go at. So that was yesterday. I do have a couple of acquisitions actually. If you've been watching the Great British Sewing Bee, I don't know if, like me, you've been eyeing up all the different tools and machines that they have. It's one of my favourite parts of the show. And I spotted these. Can you tell what it is yet? This is by a company called Prim, and it is a decent blooming sized seam ripper. And the point about this is that the lid comes off, so it's actually a comfortable size for your hand. I've got a seam ripper that came with my sewing machine, and it's about this big and it's puny, and the lid falls off and it's not terribly sharp, and it was generally a pain in the neck. And as a new sewer, seam rippers are your friend. So it's got a nice squishy grip here, and there's a groove. I don't know if you can see the groove just here, and supposedly, according to the packet, you can hang it around your neck using this groove. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, I treated myself to a new Prim stitch ripper. I just bought this off Amazon, yeah, I did some ripping out with it last night. Very comfy, well worth the money. I can't remember what I paid. Not a lot, £7 or £8 I think. And I also treated myself to a Clover chalk pen. Now I've got the traditional triangle shaped tailor's chalks. You get them in a little box, and there's a red, a white and a blue. But I find maybe mine are just a bit old, but the chalk doesn't actually come off onto the fabric very easily, and neither are they terribly accurate, and they drag on the fabric. So somebody was telling me about these on a blog. It might have been Sew Over It, I can't remember. And if you take the lid off, can you see? I don't know if you can. The very tip of this is a roller, like that. And then in the barrel you've got loose chalk. So you use it just like a pen, and because the tip is very fine, it makes a really clean, accurate line. And because it rolls, it doesn't drag on the fabric and drag it out of place. And again, you can get different colours. I bought pink because I'm unlikely to sew with a lot of pink, so I thought that would be good for standing out on fabric. They also come in yellow and white and red, I think. Again, got this off Amazon, and it was Jenny from Owl About Yarn's birthday the other week. Hi Jenny! So I bought her one each of these as well. So yeah, that was my treat. And I also bought myself a new duvet cover set from the supermarket last week, which means that my old duvet cover, which I've been eyeing up for weeks now, can go in my fabric stash. I bought my old one from Marks and Spencer's about 10 years ago. I should have brought it down to show you. It's a beautiful plum cotton, and we have a king size bed, so it's huge. There's tons of fabric in it. And it's got sort of appliqued silky fabric stripes in a section on it, which are just starting to come away, and it's starting to get a bit thin and a bit ratty looking. So I treated myself to a new one, and now I've got meters and meters of lovely dark plummy purple fabric to make myself something with. So I'm going to have to decide what I want to make for that. Right. Oh, the other thing I did, I'm on this brilliant monthly thread in Ravelry, which is where I spend most of my time. And one of the ladies on there very kindly posted a link to Craftsy, the website craftsy.com. I've mentioned it before. It's a website full of online courses to do with all kinds of crafting. And she posted a link to the site that meant you got one class for free. Now, the classes are excellent value for money anyway, but they still can be anywhere between £20 and £30, so not cheap. So I clicked on the link and treated myself to a new class. Let me just double check. Oh, it was called 40 Techniques Every Sewer Should Know by Gail, Yellen. Again, I'll put all of this in the drop-down box. And as I said, I'm a new sewer, so I often look up tutorials and things online, and this just sounded like a very comprehensive tips and tricks selection, which I think is going to be really handy. And it covers setting in sleeves, bindings, facings, stitching. What else does it cover? Sleeves and closures, curves and corners. So just a really good all round. I often phone my mum for help with sewing patterns. So this is like an online mum who will be there at 3 AM if I'm sewing and I have a question. So yes, I treated myself to that. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Things have been a bit crazy, but I will try and get around to watching some of that this week, and I will let you know if it's any good. Oh, a quick mention of the Great British Sewing Bee, Team Charlotte, yay! We've got 1 week left. It's the final on Monday. Jenny has very kindly asked me round to her house to watch it. Normally, I'm at home and I watch it on the laptop because my television aerial's been blown off. And she's watching it live on her television, and we both have our phones and we're messaging each other frantically, commenting on what they're making and what we think of the pattern choices and things like this. But there's a slight lag because I watch it on my laptop live. There's about a 2 or 3 minute lag. So Jenny has to be very careful not to drop any spoilers, or she sends me cryptic comments just to tease me. So with a bit of luck, I can go round next week and watch that with Jenny. It depends on Dave's bookings at work if I can make it. Anyway, I'm on Team Charlotte. I really hope she's going to win. She's a fantastic sewer and she's so lovely. Everybody helps each other out a lot on that programme. It's a really friendly show. But she won each of the last 3 challenges in the last week, so she's really doing very well. I will be sad when it's over. I will be sad when it's over, but then hopefully the Great British Bake Off will start and I can start watching programmes about cake. Okay, I think that's it for sewing. On to needles, my knitting bit. I don't know if I posted a picture of these on my Instagram feed. It's been a funny week, but I have a finished object and it is my Serpentine Socks. This is a pattern by Wendy D Johnson, Serpentine Socks, and it's from her book Socks from the Toes Up. I knit these on 2.75mm needles and the yarn is Unique Sheep Footprints in the colourway Calahadras. These are my first ever sport weight socks and I loves them. Every now and then you get a magic combination of yarn and pattern and the time in your life and it all clicks, and I couldn't stop knitting them. I had to just accept that nothing else was going to get worked on until these were finished because I love them. It's a very simple lace pattern. The largest size was 56 stitches and I have slightly bigger feet. I did my tension square, so I had to cast on, well, these are done from the toe up, so I increased to 60 stitches, which is 4 more than the pattern required. So all I did was add an extra knit stitch at the beginning and end of the top and the bottom of the sock. And actually, I think I've got away with it. I didn't try and alter the pattern, I just added in extra stitches. And can you see this line down here, that is my extra 2 stitches. And because of the increases and decreases in the pattern, that line has ended up being a little bit wavy anyway. So I think it doesn't notice at all. I did a fish lips kiss heel again, which I enjoyed doing. I remembered how to do it a bit more this time. It just occurred to me though that although the fish lips kiss is a lovely heel, it is basically a single layer of knitting. If you do a heel flap and gusset, I always do the knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one, and then purl back along the wrong side row. So you actually get a double layer of thickness, a bit squishier, and also hopefully lasts a bit longer. So if any of you have knitted a fish lips kiss heel and you've then worn the sock for a good few months, how does it hold up? Does it hold up just as well as a slip stitch heel flap? I mean, I can darn socks, it's not a problem, but I was just wondering if it was quite as robust as a slip stitch. Anyway, so I cast these off, and then I pretty much immediately got tonsillitis and had hot and cold flushes, blowing temperatures. So these went off the needles and straight onto my feet. So I'm afraid I haven't had time to wash them. I did only wear them in my slippers. There's a bit of dog hair, look, lovely. Everything in my house has dog hair. So yes, Serpentine Socks, love them, really happy with those. The rules of sock knitting are, if you finish a pair, you must start a pair. So, in my me-made bag, have you heard of the Knitting Expat? That's another podcast I like to watch, and that is made by the lovely Mina Philipp. She lives out in Bahrain, although she's a British expat, and she's recently released four sock patterns in a group, and it's called Beyond Vanilla, and it's for people who have just been used to knitting plain socks and they just want to be a little bit brave and try something new. So they're a selection of textured socks, and I cast on the Driftwood pattern. This is the yarn I used. You might remember this yarn. It's Miju wools. I don't know the colourway, I'm afraid. It's a 75-25 4-ply sock yarn. Lovely raspberry berry tones with some sort of grey-green flashes in there. And this was my original yarn for my Perianth mittens I was going to make. It was the one that didn't quite work out. It was too close to the contrast colour and we lost some of the design. But I was heading out to work one day and I'd finished my socks and I needed more knit. I needed to take some knitting with me, and this was caked up, ready to go on the stairs. So I grabbed this and my needles and dashed out. So here is how far I've got. There we are, look. So yeah, it's a paid for pattern on Ravelry, so I can't give the stitch pattern away to you, but you can see it works ever so well with variegated yarns. You can see yeah, there you are, look how well it works out. I cast on the 72 stitch version. There's a 2x2 rib at the top, and I've done a 6.5 inch leg, and I don't think I've quite finished the heel flap yet. The pattern as written suggests that you can just do the pattern on the front and have a plain stocking stitch back of the leg, or you can continue the pattern, which is what I chose to do. As I said, it's supposed to be Beyond Vanilla, so it's that nice middle ground of interesting to knit, but doesn't involve too much brain power. So I only cast these on a few days ago, and I've had quite a lot of sofa time. The weather has been foul, absolutely disgusting in South Wales, horrendous winds, driving rain, just disgusting, and I've been unwell, so I blanket forted on the sofa and I've been knitting some of these. So yes, check those out on Ravelry. As I said, there's a selection of 4 patterns: cobblestone, driftwood, gravel, and another one that I can't remember. And do check out the Knitting Expats podcast, because that's great as well. So I think I'll get through these pretty quickly, and I'll have another pair of socks Oh, I was knitting those on 2.25s, did I say that? In whatever the Knit Picks silver nickel plated needles are, I can't remember. My other new cast on, I was going to knit the Epistrophy cardigan from Kate Davies's Yokes book. See if I can find a picture for you. There we are. This is the one I'm knitting. So it's knit in one piece from the bottom up, and then you steek it, you cut up the middle to make it into a cardigan. And you knit it in one piece up to the armholes, you knit the sleeves, and then you join them at this point and knit the patterned yoke on the top. I'm using a discontinued yarn. This is Sirdar Balmoral DK. It's a mixture of wool, alpaca, and a tiny bit of silk. I love it. It's really squishy, it's quite woolly, and because of the alpaca it has a very slight fuzzy halo to it, which I love. The main body is going to be in blue. It's looking purple, but it's blue. And then I will knit, the contrast colour will be cream. Now, I did all the measuring yourself thing, and I did the tension square. My tension was spot on first time. Stitch count and row count, perfect. So that was great. And they say pride comes before a fall, and so the knitting gods laughed at me, because when I cast it on, I think it's 200, I cast on for the size 6, and I'll be decreasing down to a size 5 for the upper body, because I'm pear-shaped, I fall between two sizes. So I was casting on the size 6, 225 stitches I cast on, and I knit about, well, first of all, I cast on too long a cable needle. Because this is knit in the round, you need a cable needle that is smaller than the circumference of your knitting, which completely eluded me. So I knit a row and realised it wasn't going to join in the rounds. I had to slip it all onto a shorter cable, which took ages. And then I knitted about half the ribbing, and I thought, this doesn't look like it does in the picture. And I'd done it according to the instructions in the book. I'd done it correctly. So I jumped on the Kate Davies group on Ravelry, and there's a dedicated thread in there for every single one of her patterns. So I found the Epistrophy pattern thread, and it turns out there was some errata on there. So it wasn't me, there was a pattern error. So I ripped out, did I rip it out? No, I tinked back about 8 rows, or 10 rows, however many I'd knitted, which was a bit depressing. But then I wrote on my pattern what the correct stitch pattern was, and I got going. Now, like I said, I'm between sizes, and I have enough yarn, but only with about 200 metres to spare. And I would very much like to knit the sleeves and the body just ½ an inch longer, because otherwise I'll have cold wrists because I'm so tall. So I'm playing a bit of yarn chicken here. So this is my progress so far. Now I've cast on in the contrast colour yarn. Just a bit of a design detail. I think it'd be nice to match the top and the bottom, just draw them together a little bit. And also because it might give me just enough yarn to finish, to lengthen it a little bit. Now it's a beaded rib. It's basically, I'm not sure if I'll be able to see it. There we are. It's a 3x2 rib pattern, the 2 being the pearl. And then the 3 bit, you just alternate a pearl stitch in the middle. So it's really lovely. And if I show you, this stitch marker shows the start of my round. So the Russian doll shows the start of my round, and I've got 2 stitch markers here, and the stitches between those 2 ring markers is the steek section. So these are effectively 7 waist stitches, but at the very end I'll reinforce either side, and then I will cut, literally pair of scissors, whoop, all the way up the middle. I haven't done that before, but she has a fantastic tutorial on her website, so I will be looking at that. So yeah, you cut the steek up the middle, and you've reinforced it with some crochet, single crochet first, cut it, and then you pick up the stitches and knit the button bands. And then on her pattern she has some beautiful ribbon that you stitch to the inside that just covers up the raw edges and just makes it look pretty. There is trying to find the... I don't want to lose all the stitches off my needle, excuse me. There we are, look. I've got markers at the side as well to show the waist shaping. You can just about see it there in the stitch patterns. As I said, I'm grading between sizes. I'm doing a 6 round the hips, decreasing down to a 5. And this pattern has you decrease for the waist, knit 4 rows straight, and then increase for the bust. But I'm just going to decrease down to the size 5 and knit it from there. I have a small bust, so I'm not going to need the extra room for the girls. So yeah, so I've been really enjoying knitting this. As I said, a tough week, illness, poor weather, acres of stocking stitch. It's just lovely. It's been quite a while since I knitted a large garment and used anything other than fingering weight. So a nice DK stocking stitch smooshy jumper cardigan is exactly what the doctor called for, so I'm really enjoying that. The last thing I have to show you in my Mrs. Brown's bags is my Perianth mittens. I haven't done a huge amount of work on these, I'm afraid. They do take a bit of brain power, I'm not going to lie, and brain power has been in pretty short supply, so these are my yarns. The cream is Zettle Valbella, the little yarn I mentioned before, and this lovely light pink is West Yorkshire Spinner's Signature 4-ply. I can't remember the colourway, I'll put it in the drop-down box. Now, when I showed you this the last time, sorry, I'm getting in a bit of a tangle here. Yeah, when I showed you this the last time, I think I was about up to here. I'd done the first big flower, so I've not done terribly much more, maybe a dozen rows, but I have separated for the thumb, and rather than put it on waste yarn, I've just stuck it on a spare cable so it'd be easy to pick up later. I'm enjoying knitting these. I like colour work very much, but I just wasn't up to chart reading this week. There's the other side if you want to see the pattern. So yes, Perianth Mittens by Barbara Gregory. You can find these on Ravelry. It's a paid for pattern. I'm knitting these on 3mm. 3mm needles. Normally I like quite slick needles, laminated wood with a varnish on or metal. But when I do small circumference colour work, I like to use these. Now these are by a company called Brittany. They're wood and they are birch needles. They're quite long, they're 20cm, they're pretty flexible and they're quite grabby, which most of the time would drive me nuts. I like slick needles for socks and things like that. The stitches glide along nice and easily. But for colour work, probably easier if I hold it like that. I like these best. They're a little bit grabbier, so you don't have to worry about your stitches sliding off the ends of the needles. And I find that they help me keep my floats nice and loose. If you pull the yarn too tight with colour work, it can pucker. So I like these because when I smooth my work out to make sure this float stays separated, the stitches stay smoothed out. So I find that literally when I'm working, every now and then I'll just go like that. You can see the stitches are quite separated on the needle, and then that helps me ensure that my floats stay nice and loose on the inside so you don't get puckering. So not my favourite choice of needle to work with generally, but perfect for colour work. I don't know if you use different sorts of needles for different projects. I do always prefer DPNs to magic loop or 2 circulars. There's just less faffing around for me. But yeah, I do sometimes choose different materials of needle for different sorts of knitting techniques. So that's my Perianth mittens. I'm hoping to get back to those this week. I'm participating in the Grocery Girls Knit Along, Christmas in July Knit Along. You can find it on their Ravelry group. And the idea is to use some Christmas yarn or start your Christmas knitting, and it runs until the end of July, so I've really got to get a move on with those. The last little bit of my needles knitting section is sort of what's coming up events wise for me. And first of all, there is a brand new yarn festival taking place in Birmingham. It's called Yarningham, and it takes place on the 16th and 17th of July in Sturchley Baths in Birmingham. And I'm going to be going up with Jenny of Owl About Yarn to be her beautiful assistant. We're quite excited about going. My mum lives not far from Birmingham, so we're going to go up Friday night and stay with my mum, and then we'll be there plenty of time on Saturday morning to get set up. If I'm just trying to think, yes, tickets are £5 in advance, £7 on the door. I didn't write down the website, I'm afraid, but I'll try and put the website in the drop-down box. So if you're in the area, come and find us and say hello. And there are quite a few nice vendors going to be there. Obviously, Owl About Yarn, she's going to be the most important one to visit. There's also Mothy and the Squid, and there's Fab Funky Fibres. There's Textile Garden. Now, if you've been to yarn shows in the UK, you probably have seen Textile Garden. They have the most amazing, they sell buttons, and they have tables absolutely covered in teeny tiny wooden boxes with the most beautiful buttons of all sorts. Wooden ones, painted ones, shell, glass, coloured, plain. You just don't know where to start. And you can pick up a little bowl and go down and put all your buttons in this little pot. And for my Epistrophy cardigan, I'm going to need, I think, 12 buttons, and I don't think I have 12 of any single sort of button in my button jar. So, excuse me, I'm hoping, well, I've got the tension square I knitted for my cardigan, so I'm going to take that with me, and with a bit of luck, Jenny will let me off the stand for long enough to nip to Textile Garden and find some nice buttons. So yeah, if you can get to the Midlands, 16th and 17th of July, come and find us at Yarningham, come and say hello and buy some of Jenny's lovely stuff. The other thing I wanted to mention, have you heard of Toft Alpaca? I don't know if you have. They're based on a farm in Dunchurch in Warwickshire, which is where I'm from originally. And they sell gorgeous alpaca yarns, and they do a lovely range of pattern designs. They originally made their name with the bulb bag, quite a bulb-shaped bag with a really big, chunky single wooden button. You could get them as kits. Anyway, so they have this farm where they produce their alpacas. They grow their alpacas and shear them and spin their own yarn. And they regularly have open weekends. And now they're going to be celebrating their 10th anniversary with an open weekend on Saturday the 6th and Sunday the 7th of August. There's going to be crafting, taster sessions. You can stroke an alpaca, you can walk an alpaca, there'll be refreshments. It's a really nice family day out. Now, as I said, it's near where I live. And when we were at Wonderwall, excuse me, in April, the lady from Toft Alpaca came up to Jenny on the stand and asked if she would be a guest indie dyer for them. And they have a sort of a pattern kit range at the moment called Edward's Menagerie, and they are crochet patterns of the most beautiful, cute little stuffed animals. They've got all sorts. They've got flamingos and cows and all sorts of wonderful things. I'm sure they're all on Ravelry if you want to have a look. And they're bringing out a new pattern, a chameleon. And they've approached various different independent yarn dyers to dye up some DK yarn, which will go on sale. They'll launch this new exclusive indie dyed range at this weekend in August at their open day. And they asked Jenny to have a go. So yay, Jenny! So she's been sent big boxes of yarn and is busily creating a super special secret colourway, which will be revealed later. And she was going to go up with her family for the open day, and I was going to go up. I might take all of my family, or I might just take Jocelyn, my daughter, and just have a girls' day out. We'll go up and stay with my mum, and I'm sure she'd like to come along as well. So if you're free that weekend in August, the 6th and 7th, come along to Toft Alpaca's open weekend. Their website is toftalpacashop.co.uk. £5 a ticket. Who doesn't want to walk an alpaca? Come and join us and say hello. And then the last event, have you heard of the audio podcast Yarn in the City? I don't know if you have. It's one of my favourites to listen to. They recently wrote and published the London Craft Guide, if you've heard of that. Well, once a year they organise the Great London Yarn Crawl. And you can buy tickets to this event and they have guides. And there's various different routes that you can take, and you are taken around 3 or 4 crafting shops in London. There's a mix of haberdashery, fabric shops and yarn shops. And you have a little team. I think there's about 10 people for each route or each team. And you can collect stamps and things, buy some yarn obviously. And then at the end, everybody meets up in a pub for a massive knit night. And there's door prizes and raffle prizes. And it's just a lovely way to see some different people and some different yarn shops and have a nice day out. I've never been. I find London quite frightening. I'm not very good with sense of direction, so I can get a bit panicky. But I quite like the idea of this because it is a guided tour, so you're not left on your own. And Jenny from Owl About Yarn and Ellie, our other knit night friend from Tyddin Bryn, both fancied it as well. So I jumped on the website. The tickets went live yesterday. If you look at yarninthecity.com, click on the Great London Yarn Crawl tab and there's spaces to buy tickets. A few of the routes have already sold out, but there's plenty left. And some are 3 shops, some are 4 shops, so depending how adventurous and how energetic you feel. We are going to be on Team Steek, which means that we're going to visit the Village Haberdashery, which I've heard about quite a lot, and I've had a look at their online shop and they have lovely fabrics in there. So that will be fantastic. And I've just got to check my notes. The Village Haberdashery, Ray Stitch, that looks like a lovely shop. Again, they have quite a lot of organic jersey fabrics. That's what I've heard about them from. Loop, which is always fantastic. I've been there once and they have a beautiful selection of quite different yarns. It can be quite pricey, but it's worth a look. And then Knit with Attitude, which I haven't heard of at all actually, but I jumped on their website and that looks like it will be well worth a visit. So yeah, we've got tickets for Team Steek, Great London Yarn Crawl, which is Saturday the 10th of September. So if you're interested, go and have a look, yarninthecity.com, buy yourself a ticket, and maybe you'll see me and Jenny at the pub at the end. That'll be quite good fun. I'm already planning what I want to buy. I am cold sheeping. I'm trying not to buy new yarn this year. So far, all I bought was the 5 25-gram balls to make the Croft Hoose hat. I spent £12.50, and that's all I've spent on yarn this year, which I think is quite good. So I'm going to have a think and see what I'm going to allow myself to buy. I would love to buy 1 skein of hedgehog fibres. I've seen it on lots of podcasts, I've had a look on their website, and it's not the sort of thing I usually buy. I fancy trying something different, something speckly, something multicoloured, quite bright. So I think I'll allow myself a skein of that. And before I go, I will have a look at my queue of sewing patterns. And I'll choose a pattern that I want to buy some fabric for, and I'm allowed to buy the fabric and the notions for that pattern, so thread or zips or buttons or whatever it is. Because it'll cost us, I mean, the tickets are £18, which is brilliant value for money, but it's still £18. And obviously you have to pay for your own public transport to travel around between the shops. So it's not going to be cheap. So £20-ish for a skein of hedgehog fibres, and maybe £30, £40 for some fabric to make something nice, I think will be my limit anyway. Right, well, that is all I've got time for this episode. I didn't have time to have a Two's Company section this week. I haven't had much time for listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos. I've been pretty frantic. So I will try and put a list together so I've got something to share with you next week. Now, 2 weekends' time, when I should be podcasting again, is when Jenny and I are going to be in Birmingham at the Yarningham Yarn Festival. So depending how things go, I might be able to record a podcast on the Friday before we leave and post that, or if not, it will be the Monday following when I get back. So keep an eye on my Instagram feed. I'm pinsandneedlesuk on Instagram, and I'll post a picture of there and let you know when to expect the next one. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you had a nice time, and I haven't bored you with my general chatter at the end. As I said, give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Please subscribe. We are 3 subscribers away from the 100 subscribers giveaway. So click that button, make my day, and maybe you can win a prize. Other than that, I hope you have a lovely 2 weeks. Happy knitting, happy sewing, happy crafting, and be kind to each other. And I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye. Hi everybody, this is a special little extra bit of the podcast I wanted to record. I'm going to try and stitch it on the end of episode 5, but if I can't work out how to do that, it will be a special one at the end. And I have a guest podcaster with me today.
Me, Jocelyn.
This is my daughter Joss, and she's a crafter as well. So she wanted to film a little bit and show you what she's been up to. So what's in your knitting bag?
Okay. At youth club, which is right next door, we were making pom-poms, and we used yarn, which is easy, and I made a massive sparkly pom-pom.
So if you hold it up a little bit closer to the camera.
There we go, look how beautiful that is.
It's good, isn't it? Black and sparkly.
It smells nice as well. All yarn smells nice.
Mm.
And I got this yarn, which I made the pom-pom out of, from last 2 Christmases ago, was it?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, 2 Christmases ago. I got this yarn and this bag that my mum got me.
And what do you keep in there?
My yarn, my special yarn.
All of your yarns.
Yes, all my yarns. And when I was young, I started knitting some things. I knitted this. It's bad, but it's okay for a person who just started knitting. I was my first knit in the world.
What sort of stitch pattern is this? Can you remember?
Normal, I have no clue, but it's the normal one.
Garter stitch, isn't it? And it's a lovely purple colour.
Yes.
And it's accidentally shaped rather like a cape. I feel you could put that on one of your ponies.
They're not that big. They're like that. They're like 3 inches.
What else have you got in there?
Right there. This.
Oh yes, show
lost
that.
The other
So
thing.
I went to Wonderwall in April, and Jocelyn asked if I could bring her back a skein of yarn to knit something with.
2 skeins of yarn.
So
actually.
I went to the Collinette stand, and they had a bargain bin, and I bought Jocelyn 2 skeins of this lovely stuff.
It's
and if
beautiful.
you have a look, it's a 2-ply yarn, and it's a barber pole. It's a plain black and then a multicoloured, and it's an Aran weight. Really nice and squishy. And show the viewers what you've made so far.
I'm going to make a fingerless glove, but I lost the other needle.
We've done some ribbing, and it's Jocelyn's first time knitting in the round and her first time knitting on 2 needles.
I forgot how to purl.
That's okay, I can show you again. But she's done very well, but we have lost one of the needles. This is the trouble with DPNs.
I cried when I told her.
I know, it was okay, it happens. I have tidied her room since we lost it,
Yay.
and it hasn't turned up yet, so I'm not too sure.
No, not yet.
We'll have to see what else we can do. Anything else that you wanted to show them?
Yeah, some of my old yarn that I used for pom-pom making. I got these.
Oh, some more pom-poms. What are you going to do with the pom-poms?
I want to sell them, but then I send squishy, so I want to keep them and give them to Grandma.
That's the trouble.
Oh! This. This is a present from my grandma. It's a book. It's a little pink book with stories about grandmothers in them, which I kind of think suits her because she's my grandmother. And I did some clay modelling, and look at the puppy I made. It's our dog.
This is Jim the dog. And like Jocelyn said, on a Friday next door at the community centre, there's a youth club, and there's always sports in one room and crafting in the other, and Jocelyn helps out and she loves the crafting. So this is Jim the dog. It's air dry clay.
Yes, it hasn't
Look, doesn't it look just like him? It's still a bit soft, so you have to be careful.
I need to colour it a bit more. I also made a cupcake. Look how beautiful this cake is. It has a purple case.
And how did you make it coloured?
I used pen.
Oh, you just colour it in with a felt tip, okay.
It had blueberry icing, the frosting, the creamy one, buttercream, and chocolate chips.
Excellent.
I had to glue it down because it didn't let me just stick on normally.
What else have you got?
I made a bone for the dog so we can eat it.
Dog and bone. So hold it up a little bit and then they can see.
Nom nom nom.
Excellent.
And I made a little purple love heart for Mum because I love her.
Thank you very much.
And this is the starting of a cake, but I'm thinking it might be the poo emoji.
It does look a bit like a poo emoji, doesn't it?
It could be a poo emoji. I could show it next time I'm on here.
Excellent. So what are your crafting plans? What are you going to work on next?
I think when we find the new needles, I will carry on with that.
Okay.
I want to kind of speak about sewing now and then talk about my trip.
Okay.
My trip. No,
That's okay.
I want to start off making mini dresses for my Monster High and Ever After High dolls because I want to sew like Mum and make beautiful dresses like she does because they are beautiful. True fact. And I realised that the Monster High dolls kind of look like a human doll, but they're a bit too thin. So I decided to draw around them and draw on their clothes so I kind of get an idea on what it looks like. And so when I do that, I'm going to make some for them and I'm going to make them my size so I'll kind of get the idea and the help of my amazing mum.
Okay.
I'll be able to do it.
And what about your school trip? That was quite exciting. Where did you go?
Broadhaven.
And where is Broadhaven?
West Wales, and we had to travel all the way. I don't know which part of Wales we're in, but we're in Barry Island, and we had to drive from our school 3-hour drive all the way to West Wales, Broadhaven. It was worth it though, because the bodyboarding was hilarious.
You did bodyboarding and you did
co-steering.
What's co-steering?
So, for any of you who don't know what co-steering is, what you do. This is what we did. We climbed over some sharp rocks with sharp barnacles on them, and I ended up cutting myself.
Oh dear.
It hurt a lot. I didn't really feel it.
So you're scrambling across the rocks, and you're all in wetsuits, aren't you? And then what do you do?
There's parts where it's just like a wall. If you think you can climb across your wall, but you can't, it's too flat. So there was a massive gap between them. And it was freezing cold. We had to swim. You
have to jump
across.
in the water.
Yeah, well, we had to climb down because it was a bit too high. The co-steering bit, it was about the same size as our car, the blue one.
Okay. And you shared a room with your friends, didn't you?
Yes. Oh, we didn't sleep at all. Not that much, though. We had a lot of sweets.
A lot of sweets.
Yes. We did.
How many nights were you away?
3 nights.
That was a long time.
I know, I missed, everyone was crying.
And when she came home with all her soggy wet clothes, I was rinsing them out in the sink before I put them in my nice washing machine. And I actually washed seaweed out of her socks.
You didn't tell me.
Yeah, I did. I was rinsing her, I went like this, and just bleh, seaweed. I was like that.
Seaweed present.
But I think it was a good trip. I think you did some brave, adventurous things. I want to talk
about the bodyboarding.
Okay.
So the bodyboarding was so fun. Mr. Broad, a year 6 teacher, he's quite tall, but not as tall as Mum, not quite tall. And they were taller than him. And my friend Maddie Davis, she's quite short. We were swimming, we were on our bodyboards paddling towards this massive wave came over her. And it was like being in an oversized drying machine, or washing machine. It was madness. I couldn't be like this. It was really fun. I loved it so much, though.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. What was the favourite moment?
Probably seeing Maddie get demolished by a massive wave. It was hilarious.
That sounds like fun.
My worst part was the climbing.
I thought you were going to say missing me.
And missing my mum.
And missing
not missing the brothers.
Oh, you missed your brothers.
Only Conrad, but Max that much. He's annoying, though.
All right. All right then. Well, we've got 8.5 minutes on there.
8.5 minutes.
So, what do you say to the viewers?
Bye, viewers.
Thank you for watching. See you next time.